Confere lá no meu YouTube depois.
Which one of my shots, one of the shots I did, because it was my good friend. Well, no, I did once. So lighting and all that. And so that's not very. I think it's the head. Well, I mean, we're actually currently working. Well, I mean, like, you're rephrasing. No, like, I was working on a job back in September, which is fine.
Flow Academy. Orientation is locked during this thing. Ah.
But I'm taking this time to go like build made a lot of fun stuff.
Então, mas passando.
Tem que apertar algum botão que vira.
Mas não sei qual.
Ó, orientation is locked. Não, tá locked por causa dos...
No, the device is unlocked. I'm just trying to figure out how to rotate it here. Aqui muda a
Não, essa dali é o trigger.
camera. Vai em pé mesmo.
Não, faz direito. Aí, ó, ficou agora.
Não, ó. Tá assim. Tá em pé.
Não, faz direito. Não, mas tem que deitar, velho, senão não vai dar certo.
Não vai, tá locked.
Não, mas em algum lugar...
Vai no Google e pesquisa. Aí você arruma aqui enquanto eu vou setando lá.
And then like, and if the program especially the curtail specialize in that, it's kind of like.
Yeah.
Oh.
On my class a few months ago, there was no like lecture on facial stuff or like what controls to use first. There was like supplementary content. Like, there was this lecture from Sean Sexton. He was like, so first you use the jaws. I'm like, thank you. But there were people in my class who were using the fine controls first to shape them out. And I was like, yeah, I mean, you don't know better.
I literally just go like this when I
Yeah, my teacher, I have a screenshot of my teacher going like this, because he was telling us, he's like, put your thumb in your nose here and feel where the jaw goes, yeah. That's a good tip.
Right. Or like,
I've been in class 6 with you.
Right, I mean,
I've seen that.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's a lot to go through.
I know it's an early talk.
I know it now and make and
Start now, right?
Yeah, I know. So for everyone who wants to rewatch this, I'm gonna put on YouTube as well. That's why I set up it there. And today we're gonna be talking about face appeal. For those who doesn't know me or weren't here yesterday, I'm Alex. I'm a senior animator at Riot Games today, and I was previously at DreamWorks Animation, Blue Sky, so I have a little bit of experience with feature film and game animation. But today's gonna be more about the feature film side and how to craft expressive faces in 3D animation. I'm also running the Animation Flow, which is an online animation school. So, and today's gonna be very fun because I want to be more relaxed, interactive. That's why I'm sitting. I'm gonna be doing some live demo as well. So that will be more fun. Feel free to like just ask questions while I'm still like doing something. Raise your hand and we're gonna just go from there. So with that said, how to start about face appeal. So every time you're gonna work on the face, I think it's very important for you to first know the fundamentals. Know, like, understand before you start doing anything. So you need to understand the face anatomy and how the muscle works. Find reference is always very important. So make sure to always like look for reference, try to make the expression yourself. A lot of people like having a mirror next to their desk, or I use the front camera from the phone. I make the expressions all the time. You keep like making the expression as you're working on them. So that's also like a way to just fill it out. But it's always important to have some reference. And then follow the muscle anatomy. It's, first you understand it, then you follow, because then you can push the design principles. So it's like a step by step. Like you need to understand what's happening, and then you follow it and like, okay, now I can stylize and make it more pushed. And always compare and improve. So the lecture part is gonna be pretty quick, pretty fast, because I feel like everyone here is an animator. Who here is not an animator? So, for you, I recommend you to look some like basic of animation. You're gonna understand a lot of the stuff that I'm going through here, but everyone that has experience is gonna understand like pretty straightforward, because we're just talking about like the basics of like when you start animating, like, oh, I want to start posing the face. So first thing is understand before stylize, because a lot of people just want to make like those cartoony, crazy expressions. They just do it like everything very cartoony, and they don't understand what's happening underneath on the face. So always understand before you try any stylization. And what does that mean? And who was here on the video reference yesterday, video reference talk, you can practice even on your video reference. It's always important to record reference. And like I said, I'm not very expressive with my face when I record reference, but I can still extract the expression from the reference. So you try to understand what's happening underneath, like with the muscle, with the anatomy, and then from there you can push your reference and you can make notes for yourself. So if we go here, we do not need to memorize all the muscle. We don't need to know the names exactly, but it's always important to know like what is happening. For example, we have the eyebrows here, and the eyebrow is a frontal muscle that pulls the eyebrows up. And whenever you have like a surprise expression, this part of the muscle, the frontalis muscle here, is gonna bring the eyebrows up. And then if you have like an angry expression, this muscle is gonna be relaxed, and the corrugator is gonna go down. So that means that wherever we understand about anatomy, we know muscle works in compression. So every time you compress a muscle, the muscle is active. Every time you relax the muscle, it means that other muscle is compressing. So here is what I mean about like you can practice with your reference, is that on my video reference, I get a pose, and then I try to start understanding what's happening on this pose. Like you see here, I have a surprise face, and what do I have? Tension on the frontalis muscle, bringing the eyebrows up. And the corrugator on the eyebrows, they are relaxed. So I'm just making those notes to myself, like, okay, what's happening here? I have a tension on my eyebrow. And what's happening on my mouth, for example? I have the lower mouth being tensioned, that's why it's making this shape. And I also have like the jaw opening, that's what's making the front of the mouth is also relaxed, so there's no tension on the top part of the face or the nose. And that gives that stretch feeling, that opening feeling. And I have some other expression here, more about the tension, the compression of the eyebrows. You can see by the wrinkles on the eyebrows how the muscle is compressing in. And I always like to get on my reference and make those lines to understand, like, okay, this is what's happening underneath. This is the muscle, like, coming, like, bringing the eyebrow in. One important thing is, like, the eyes, for example, they're just, like, one circular muscle. That is the, I don't have a laser, so, this blue one highlighted. So that feels like, if you go back to the principles, it's like squash and stretch of a bouncing ball. That's why we have like an anticipation, have like this squint, and then the surprise, and you just have like the same shape as a bouncing ball. Because this muscle also works in contraction, but it's circular. And that's what we see here on on that pose here, how we see how this is very squashed. It looks like a squash shape, and connected with the eyebrows, bringing it in. And I also have tension on the mouth, and how the pose is very symmetrical. How this pose, we always like analyze how some poses they are open to one side, to the other side, some poses are more symmetrical. So that's a good exercise to do by yourself. For example, this symmetrical and the one that I just showed that is near, it's more like a disgust expression. You see how it's open, naturally it's open to one side. And those poses, I didn't plan out like, oh, I'm gonna do exactly like this to the camera. I put the camera the same way it is there, and then I just start making the poses with my face. It was recording, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop on this frame, and then I did the draw over. And as you see here, I have like all this contraction from the muscle that makes this ear, how the nose is going up, the squash on the eye because of the eye muscle, and the other side is more relaxed, the other side, the mouth is more relaxed. So we have this natural opening from screen left to screen right, which makes it an appealing way to draw the viewer's eye to that side. So we can clearly see how everything is flowing, the line of action, how one side is compressed, the other side is relaxed, and how this works very well. So this is important because, like we said yesterday, everyone records reference. It's important to record reference. But a lot of people say like, oh, but my expressions are not good. And my expressions are not good either. But I can understand what's happening there. I say like, oh, the eye is compressing, the eyebrow is going up, the mouth has some tension, the jaw is open but like not so open. So I can just like take those mental notes. You don't need to note itself. In the beginning I like noting, but you can take those mental notes, and then when you're constructing a pose, you're like, oh, the eyebrow is compressing. My eyebrow, like for example, my shape of the eyebrow could be more appealing on a designed way, but I know that it's because of the muscle is going up, and how the muscle is going up and outwards on the surprise expression because of how the muscle they're connected out this way. So you see there's like a natural curve. So whenever I bring my character, instead of getting the eyebrow just pulling up, and I pull up and a little to the side. And that's just like understanding what is happening underneath. And not only recording yourself, you need to find reference for your expressions, which can be both from photos or to the art. I really like getting a board of reference. Whenever I'm starting a new shot, I make like a new Pinterest board, or if it's something NDA, I just gather a lot of reference and make my own like Miro board or PureRef. There are like some apps out there that you can do that easily. And I just make like a bunch of reference, both for the body expressions and the face expressions. And it would look like something like this. So you create a board of expression going from a range of stylized to realistic to like 2D photos. And here I can have a lot. Whenever I come to this board, I was like, okay, I have a whole range of expressions here. And I know like on stylized, for example, on the bad guys, how the mouth is very rounded. For example, here on the wolf drawings, the mouth is very round. And then on Nick from Zootopia, it is very sharp. So I keep noticing those differences, and this just gives me a lot of room to go with my expressions. So just like, okay, this like the range that I can go, those expressions, like this mouse shape from Zootopia, the mouse shape studies on the lower corner, it's also very interesting. So with this, and then of course the photos, I really like this. I've seen a lot of those. It's a book, I forgot the name of the book, but I see a lot on Pinterest. I just have a board of facial expressions, and I like how it just analyzes what we did with the arrows, the lines, like what is being active, the muscles that are being active, and how the expression is working underneath. And this, it's like, that's how I start. I don't start just going like, okay, let's go to animate, and just wake up, I get to work, and then the shot is gonna be done tomorrow. No, you have the whole process, like recording reference, and I record reference, okay, what can I extract from the reference? And then I need supporting reference from my reference. So I record my reference like, oh, the character's like, oh, disgusted. And then I go out and like, okay, disgusted expression. And then I make a board, it's like, I get a lot of like photos and 2D art. There's some artists that I really like work, like Jim Kim. I have a board just from his art because I really like the way he does like the concept in 2D. And there are like several other artists. I put everything. I use a lot of Pinterest, but also sometimes I just go on Google. Sometimes even like as simple as getting an emoji. I think the emoji is like the most simplified version that is understandable an expression. And that's a great way to see like, okay, I'm going the right direction. Because a lot of people just, they try to reinvent an expression and then like it doesn't look like anything. It's like, oh no, like this emoji, like this is very expressive and it's just like 2 dots and a few lines. And always make sure the expressions, they're like, if you see how everything is connected, always make sure your face is very connected. And that's what we can see on the references. And that's why I brought even more reference. So I found this speaking, I thought it was like amazing how this working. And why is it funny? Why is it grabs our attention? Why is it gives a reaction for us? Like most of the people just reacted for these slides and none of the other slides. And why is that? Because it's working. It is funny, it brings like appeal. And why does it bring appeal? Because the face is connected. You see here, for example, how the mouth, you have like a round mouth, like we can feel how the smile is pushing the eyes up. And that's why you have a squint on the eyes. And how the expression is favoring this way. And that's why it's not like, it's not weird. And it's interesting, funny, and appealing. And the same.
Quick question. For creating a board of expressions, do you create a different board for each shot that you do, or you could kind of try to make a general?
Usually for character.
Okay.
I
Just
do-
for character.
Yeah, I do character base.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if it's a different character, I like making a different board
Mhm.
because sometimes it's a different vibe. So I just like, okay, this character has this board. I'm starting on you, this character is a different board. Because I also get like some body poses and some like actions that those characters will do. So I like just separating like that. Yeah, and this one I thought it was like very funny as well because it works because the cheeks of the cat is like kind of going down, so it feels like this droopy feeling, and then the eyes are going down, and the eyebrows are just like that. There's like no really any expression, but it's still there's some like asymmetry. So this was for me was like very interesting how even as simple as like a few lines and then matching with like making the connection with the photo of the cat, it just makes it interesting. So today we'll be using, these are our characters. We'll be using Kazan and Miara, those are the rigs for animation flow. So I've been using them on a lot of my classes for the students, and the students also have access. And I wanna have an assignment today for us to do it together. So that's how I feel about doing the assignment there on top. It was very early and we're just working. But we're gonna build an appealing face expression that clearly conveys an emotion. And then here are some examples: anger, surprise, sadness, disgust, excitement, eye roll, curiosity can be also like a moment. And we're gonna do it together. I'm gonna go over to Maya. And I want your guys' help. What will be an interesting expression to build? It's gonna be one with Kazan, one with Miara. Hopefully, let's see how the time goes. But anyone has any idea? Anything that you would like to see? I can also pick it, but if
Eye roll sounds interesting.
eye roll, it doesn't have to be from this list, by the way.
Curiosity.
Eye roll, curiosity. All right, let's keep those two for now, and let's go over to Maya. And that's where the funny, I did not plan for this, by the way. It has to be natural, just like my workflow. How I usually start with an expression, and how is that approach? And don't think like, oh, but because the rigs are amazing. No, the rigs are pretty standard. You can find, of course, they are high level feature film rigs, yes, but still you can find very good rigs out there that you could apply the same principles. So first thing is eye roll. So we go on Google and eye roll expression. First thing is let's just understand what this expression is. Definitely the eyes should be up. That's like one thing that defines this expression. So we can't really go away from like an eye roll without the eyes being up. But with the mouth, we have a lot of flexibility where we have some stuff that has like some kind of sneer, some kind of like pucker, like a wide, or this one is pretty expressive. It feels very, very exaggerated. This one is also pretty good, but it is a different emotion in a way. This one feels a little bit fake, but still works. And you also need to like understand, like, is this, like if I follow this reference, is this gonna be appealing or is it the right reference? So, and again, reference is just reference. I will not copy some of this pose. I'm just like browsing, and I like just clicking on one and browsing like similar poses. And yeah, so we have a good idea of what defines an eye roll. Things that I noticed before even starting is like, okay, eyes are gonna be up. Let me get this one got better reaction. So eyes are up, very asymmetrical pose in a way how the shoulders are countering the head. So let me just quickly make some annotations here. I use this tool all the time, by the way. Just to quick. So we have like the face opening this way against the shoulder. So we have a head rotation here that breaks the flow of the line of, if you imagine the line of action of the character, we're breaking with the face going that way. The eyebrows, it is a little bit unclear because it's probably like this is probably like a breakdown. It's something that was in motion, then someone just captured this frame. But this eyebrow feels a little bit higher than this, but the pose is kind of opening that way because this eye is a little bit more closed than this. So just taking a few notes, and the mouth feels very relaxed with a touch of sneer, like a little disgusted. And I'm not gonna worry about the hand and the phone. We're just gonna focus more on the face. So cool, I found a few references. I understand what my expression is. Now I'm just gonna go back to my end. That's when we actually start. This is a fresh file. The name is untitled because I just referenced the rigs. And I have the habit of not saving, so let's just hope it doesn't crash. The textures. No, we don't do textures. Cool. First thing, I set my camera. I don't like working on the perspective. I like having a set camera whenever I'm working for an expression, and especially for feature film, we're always working for that expression towards that camera. I'm gonna create a new camera. Whenever I'm doing like close-ups or anything that is very towards the face, I use a tighter lens. I'm just gonna get the focal length up to 70. 70 should be good. So we see how the character is like flatter. If anyone has any question about lens and cameras, there are a lot of good content. I have a few classes about that as well, composition. But here, just as a quick camera here. Cool. So that will be our camera. I'm gonna lock this camera so I don't mess with it because I keep doing that. I'm not gonna use graph editor, so this is usually my setup when I'm working. If I have two monitors, this is gonna be on the other monitor, but usually I have my camera and my character on the perspective with the controllers. This is something that I like doing, and it's just me, so that's why I'm like, okay, I don't need to pay attention to it. Because I like putting the display options, the gate black with no opacity, because I really like seeing where it's cutting, because if it's like this for me, I see a little bit here and I don't understand if it's showing or not. So that's something that is more like my preference. Some people like changing the overscan, like things like this, to make it even more, like less of the border. Cool. And now we just go over, this character has a picture and it has a lot of controllers for the face, for the hair. I'm gonna turn off the wrinkles for now, the face wrinkles, just focus on controls. Right. Just focus on the expression first, and then we can start adding. And I'm gonna go over like why am I adding some of those things. Cool. First things first. I need to get the body and head in place. Let me get my menu here. Yeah, the head is global, and I'm gonna have a feeling of the body coming down. And feel free to ask, and I'll be just like working here. Feel free to talk about anything, asking questions, because animation is also not that fast yet. That we can just like think about it, and then the things start happening faster.
Was that a plugin where you right clicked and it said global or?
Yeah, this is a specific thing for this character where you can change like, for example here IKFK, and you just click and it matches, and then it's the same with like global and all that stuff. So you can change the following and it just matches everything. So this is pretty handy, and the same with like the head and stuff. Cool. And one thing that I really like doing is changing the eye to global, finding the eye position, and playing with the head rotation. So it's like, oh, do I want this? Do I want this? And the eyes are staying there. So I can kind of tell, like for the camera, like, oh. And I'll be making the expression here while I'm doing this. It's just like, the eyes will be up this way. And because of the style of this character, I like making the iris and pupil bigger. Not so big, because then start getting on the cute side, and it should be more like annoyed. Cool. Now we can start just like getting. You see how what I want you guys to pay attention is like. Of my thought process and how I'm going, like only on the big controllers, I'm not overcomplicating anything. I'm just really going like, okay, head, the controller, eyes, now the eyelids and the eyebrows, only on the main one, and then I'm gonna start really getting into the details. I think the eyes are going so much that it's just like bringing the head up. Let's drop the smile so she's a little less happy about it. I also have my shortcuts where I press Alt-E and I toggle between parent world and object. So I can just quickly, if I want something to just go down here.
That's smart.
Here we have this near attribute on this character that is what makes the mouth rounder. So I can just get a little bit of this. I don't know if you guys know, like quick tip, if you hold control you can go more subtle on the values here.
Oh, that's cool.
Little tips that will make your workflow faster.
What button on your mouse are you pressing to get the slightly scale? I forget.
Oh, middle click.
Middle click.
Yeah, if you middle click here, it moves any attributes. And if you control middle click, you can slide. And let's go back to our references here.
Would there be a time you bring the reference into Maya? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bring references in Maya, and I'll show. If you were here yesterday, we talked about it. Some people don't, some people do. But I usually bring on an image plane, and I like having it pretty big there. Alright. One thing that I really care about whenever I'm posing mouth, and I do this a lot as well, is backslash and then middle click and right click, so you can 2D and pan your camera. And I really go on like specific parts. Let me smooth out the character. and I really like, now I'm gonna pay attention, okay, this teeth here, and because I'm used to the rig, it's gonna feel like, oh my god, there's so many controllers, but I kind of know, like green is the teeth, and red is the mouth, and yellow is the jaw, etc. So you take some time to get used to it, but when you get used to it, it's pretty fast. And I'm just trying to bring the teeth down here so I can have like a better shape. And I also have the teeth deformers. Just make sure everything is pretty here, and then the tongue. I don't know why I'm not using the picker, because the picker is very useful, and the picker is pretty complete. I recommend people using it. But me personally, I like suffering a little more. Where I just keep saying, oh, where's the control? Like, oh, it's here, and then back here. No reason. There's really no. Do not recommend.
Picker can always be its own kind of suffering, you know.
That's true. I will show for those who are not familiar with picker, but it's usually like this, and then you have like all the face, just the face panel here. But it's, I mean, the resolution is too small for me as well. So. Nah.
Do you have a rule of thumb for how much teeth you show?
Don't have a specific rule. I like just watching in design, like just on the design of the pose, like how much white versus black I have. So if I have like, and it's just like on the feeling, and I was just like, okay, this is feeling a little bit too much, this is feeling not enough. So I kind of like try to find. One thing that I try is like not showing too much of the gums. So anytime it's showing too much red, I avoid it. It depends on the style as well. I'm talking about like my style, like this specific character. I'm gonna bring this a little bit more up. Now I'm just like, just going into the mouth here. But let's go back on the overall expression. Let's now start just really getting the eyes to work better. I want even more of the feeling that the eyes are going up. Let's see if we, and I try a lot as well. Let's see if the lower lid up, like, maybe lower lid down, might be more interesting. Mouth definitely needs to be a little more exaggerated. And get on the shape of the eye. The eyebrows I haven't touched yet, with an expression that doesn't have too much on the eyebrows really. And I keep doing it myself to see what is happening. Like, and I say, okay, I have a little bit of tension on my eyebrows. All the eyebrows are also connected. And these eyes is what I need to get a little bit more of this. It's just looking too nice. I like using IK head, by the way, so I translate the head instead of rotating the neck. But that is just preference. It's literally the same thing. Some shots I did just with the neck, some shots just with the head. But it's just so you guys know, like, oh, you're translating the head. If I can get more of the shoulder up here. Whenever you have a character that has ears, it's a very specific case on like this character especially. The ear serves like a second eyebrow in a way. So you also need to consider this on your pose and how this is flowing. Oh, she's looking so nice. Let me put the eye back in. not global. I can just play more with the eye direction. Now we're getting somewhere. And what I like doing a lot, and I like making like a rough expression, like, oh, okay, do I understand what's happening? Cool, let me set a key on everything. So select character, set a key. I'm gonna go in the next frame, and I'm gonna start trying it out before I polish it up all the details. I'm gonna just start trying it out, different options of the same pose. I was like, okay, what will be interesting? Maybe mouth more closed, maybe the eyes up. Two. Maybe the ears down. So here I'm like really just experimenting with. I'm just like, okay, let's try to see if this goes too far. And what I like doing is comparing to the previous pose. So I'm just like, okay, now this to this. I don't know if I like the eyes, but I definitely like the ears. Kind of like the mouth as well. Let's push the mouth a little bit more, honestly. Let's push more of this. Even more of this. And let's try to get a sharper corner here, so maybe we can not use so much of this near, just this near up. And the pose is starting to get somewhere more interesting. Like I said, I kind of like the eyes a little bit more open. And then I'm gonna go in the next frame again, because I want to say, well, like, okay, it's kind of like a checkpoint. Okay, it's a good checkpoint. And this I literally do every day for all my shots. Body poses, face poses. It's just part of my day-to-day workflow. I'm not doing this just for like a presentation's sake. There's some stuff we need to adapt for, like whenever I'm teaching, I like adapting some stuff for a more friendly workflow. Like I block in spline, and it's a mess when I block for my professional work. But if I'm gonna teach, like, oh, look at this demo, people wouldn't really extract as much because it's very specific to my workflow and how, like, my experience. So I was like, okay, let's block pose to pose, and then go to breakdowns, etc. But this is something that I actually do all the time, every day. It's just like I make a pose. I was like, okay, do I like it? I checkpoints, make another pose, checkpoints, make another pose. And
So are you working pose to pose, but in the spline?
kind of like this. I call it my own hybrid way because I get a reference, I start making like a rhythm pass where it's just all spline. And I don't worry much about the poses. And then I go back, I set some keys where I think it's important, and then I set those keys where it's important, delete everything that is in between those important keys, go back to step, do this pass where I keep copying the pose and trying to make it like better each pose. And then I go back to spline, mess everything again, and then sometimes I go back to step one more time, fix this pose, and then I go to like polish. So it has a little bit of a back and forth.
What does that rhythm pass look like? Like, is it kind of layouty or?
In a way, it's very like rough poses. I'll see if I have an example, but can't remember if I have anything right now with me. But it looks like just the main controller. I usually touch like about 10, 15 controllers at most. Use pose from the library. So it's just getting like the library poses there, few controllers, and really focusing on, if it's a mechanics shot, focusing on the COG and the weight. If it's a face shot, focusing on the beats of the dialogue and how the head and body is moving. So it's a little bit like, it's much rougher. I'll try to find an example later and then I can show. If you stop by the booth, they can probably show you. Something specific about this character, the eyes, they have like very flowing lines. So you see here, instead of having the sharp corner on the eyes, I'm trying to make it rounder. And then I'm making this eye more, and talking back about face expression, this eye is going up more because we have this near, so this muscle is pulling up, and that means that this is gonna go up, and it's gonna have this mass coming here. And then I always connect every part of your face, so the nose here, I would probably tilt a little bit. And from this point here, we're getting to a nice expression. I think the eye is a little too big. So we can probably tone it down a little bit, get it a little bit bigger. And from here, we can probably go to another frame again. Let me set a key on everything. This right-click menu is like a very nice thing, by the way. And then I'm gonna start like just pushing a little bit more, like, okay, the line of action is this way, so I'm gonna open more my face this way. Start deforming the character on the limits, of course. And maybe a little bit more compression, maybe the whole mouth is like here. And trying to get the details now, maybe the hair is down here. Let me get the hair controllers. That's now when I'm like actually trying to get to a pose that would look nice enough. Turn this on. You have the whiskers, and then hair. Ah, and we can go to the wrinkles as well. Now I think it's the time to get to the wrinkles. You see like how it's incremental as well. We just keep going, and like we don't do everything at once. We get like the pose, and then we get the flow of like how the muscle is working, and then we start pushing like the appeal here and there. These wrinkles I do like using the picture, I guess, because I'm gonna choose what I need to use here, and what those wrinkles means on this character, it's one muscle is actually being like creating wrinkles on the face, so it's just mimicking this kind of wrinkles that we saw on a reference. So for example, I will not need this, I don't need anything on the left side, because the left side is more relaxed. I don't need this one, so I'm just choosing the ones that I don't need. Here, 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 and I'm just gonna scale them down to 0. So they go away, and I will probably not need the nose wrinkles. This is a fine line, like how you decide what do you do. Usually, whenever you work on a production that has something like this, the supervisor will make a guide for you. If you're the one creating this guide, you're gonna go over like reference and set rules after doing like several tests.
Oh no.
And it's just an embodiment.
Oh.
Imagine.
Save your phone.
Oh, I usually don't save. I did another demo like this, and then it ended. I was just like, okay, cool. Close and don't save. Maybe we can get one like this way to show this wrinkle here, and we don't need those two.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
What's your philosophy in adding like wrinkles to like eyes and mouth? Is it like add tension or?
Yes, it's the muscle, like just to try to push more of like what's happening on the anatomy underneath. So it's basically, I added this one here because this near is pulling up, so it's pulling the eye up. So that means that this muscle is very tense. So I add the wrinkle here just to show like, hey, there's a wrinkle here. And here I don't add anything. And this one I'll probably remove as well. So just like this wrinkle here, and you see like was a lot of things, and now it's just one little line in there. The teeth, I personally don't like showing the gum, so I kind of shape the teeth with my expression. This is also very stylized for this character, stylized. Okay, a little bit. I do like rotating the eye as well to make it flow with my pose. So you see like before, and I want you guys to like try to see this, how this line is going this way and this line is going this way. It's kind of created like a V, and I want the line of action to just be going that way. And now I'm gonna put, and I'm very picky about my face expressions. I really like, I think face is like one of the things I like animating the most, which is very interesting because now I'm working with games that they don't really do much on the face, on League of Legends. But I'm very picky even about like getting the eyelashes. I want them to flow better this way, so I'm always caring about every little detail. And this corner here, and here I can probably get to a point here where like, okay, this, I could go with this to check with the other. Now I can exaggerate a little more. When we have the pose well constructed, we can start exaggerating a little. Maybe more relaxed on the eyebrows. A little bit of rotation here. Cool. Now if we go back a few frames, we're gonna see the progression of this pose. So we started like this, and I'll turn off the wrinkles because they'll be just visual noise for us to see. So yeah, we started like this, which has like a good direction, and then we start experimenting with the ear and the mouth and the eyes, and then we start tweaking more of the eye shape, and then we actually push more of the line of action and really try to get the pose to like a more polished stage. And then we can keep pushing. I would probably add, I usually do like 5-6 frames out of this, because maybe here I'm gonna push even more like rotation, like really trying to, and then I go like, sometimes I go way too far. I was like, okay, yeah, that's too much. That's when I know the previous frame was better, and I just go back to the previous frame. Like for example, this like, kind of looks a little broken. So I just like, yeah, I prefer the previous frame, but I do like how much we're going in here. And yeah, so that is, I think that's a good stuff for this. But before the hair, I just talked about the hair. I also like thinking about the visual of the pose itself. So I think it'll be more interesting if she has the hair messy. This is like more like an acting choice. The hair would actually probably, even with the picture, the hair is hard to animate on this character because there's a lot of probably getting this shape here. And I always try to create those lines in the composition that makes it flow. For example, I'm just paying attention on this tip here, how it's gonna flow with this tip, instead of just leaving it like this, for example, where it's going down and this going down. So I'm actually pushing this in a little bit, and maybe we can get this part here a little bit down, and that's it. That is an eye roll expression, and that's like the process going from how we started. And you see, like, I didn't go back to my reference to really copy that. I'm actually just trying to just understand what's happening and pushing for my character and what's happening with my character. Cool? All clear? Nice. Now we're gonna get the camera to the other guy. And first, let's get camera angle and curiosity. Anyone wants to change? Anyone wants to say any other expression you think would be more fun? Curiosity is good.
Shock.
Shock. Let's see some references. If we find something that we react, curiosity can lead into shock. It can be like a good like face expression exercise. You have a character curious, where like it's more squinty, trying to look somewhere, and then just like This is very cliche, but it kind of works well as well. Let's go for some curiosity. And I'm not seeing anything interesting here.
But a fringe expression.
Fringe.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's funny. It's a little similar to eyebrow in a way. It kind of goes in the same realm.
Yeah.
Maybe like rage or like a
Rage.
snarl kind of thing.
Yeah, something more aggressive. That's also interesting. Alright, let's try rage. I think it got good reaction. So just looking at the reference, we can tell a few things that are very common between those expressions, and it's how much teeth is showing, how the brows are very tense. So we have a lot of the eyebrow tension. It's like on an extreme level, especially like here. We can see how this muscle is active, very active. We don't have anything on the frontalis muscle. And then we have like the teeth showing, the mouth open, sometimes very much open, sometimes not so much open. Sometimes jaw is closed, but the mouth, the lips are open. We have some kind of like nice flow here. And wrinkles on the nose. I think that's like the main little things. So he's gonna be angry this way. I have my camera is set up. I'm gonna lock this camera. And we're gonna start on frame 6 because frame 5 is the other expression. Just for the sake of the demo. So first thing I think when I saw those expressions, like the character is leaning forward because it's like about to attack someone. For this character specifically, we have very good references. If we go over, I also like looking at animated characters. If we go over on Zootopia, when there's the panther, when the panther is like really mad, it's like going wild. And that was like a very good reference of how that expression could work. Shoulders probably down based on our reference, so pushing forward. You see how like the shoulders are going down here. We have this line of the shoulder, and you see that I'm not just like making up, just making up stuff. I'm actually like, I look at the reference like, okay, yeah, shoulders down, leaning forward. It has that nice lean into it. Interesting for now. If it's boring, I can go back to presentation and have some other slides there. Or we can keep doing the pose. It's good? We're going? That's good. Just want to check people want to leave. Feel free to leave as much as you want. Cool. I'm going to push the head a little more forward. And I got you a nice head pose. I'm going to readjust my camera just to really shape the character here. And now first thing, I always go to the most important, most remarkable from the pose. It's like the expression should be, the eyebrows should be down. On an, like we said, on an extreme level. So we're just gonna bring this in. And again, I'm not just gonna put the eyebrows down, straight down here, because that is not what's happening in the expression. We know that this muscle group is pulling everything in. So I'm actually gonna bring this in, rotate it down, and then bring it down. And I'll try to push as far as the rig can go. That is pretty far. And whenever you have like good rigs, you have nice deformation system, it helps a lot. And then, and again, just gonna go to like the main things. Don't get attached to details, because whenever like, oh, but the eyebrows are like so good, I can just click here, here, here. No, just get first the base of the expression there, then we go over details. Has this round mouth design as well, which we're gonna play around. Probably too much lips open, but we're just trying to get the base. And get even more contrast of the heads and the body. Even more anger. And when I say like even more anger, what does that mean? I'm just trying to push, like contract more the muscles that are being active. Like when I do this, like I can feel how my mouth is just like being pulled out. I was like, okay, if I can pull out more, I can feel the muscle as tense as it can get for my face. I need to go as far as I can on my character as well. And nose wrinkle, like we're compressing everything, so we have a nice nose wrinkle attribute here. And because everything is so compressed, the eyes will have a little bit of a reaction, but whenever you're like anger, rage, you tend to open more your eyes, especially in animation, so I wouldn't leave so squinty. I'll actually try to squint the lower lids, because it's all the muscle from the mouth are pulling up, but actually open more the upper lid, so I can see more of the white of the eyes. Kind of go, character's going crazy. Like even as much as I can get here. Should really get this. Cool. Like I said, he's looking a little bit like hurt in a way, because now we're gonna have to get into the details. Like I said, if the character has ears, these are the second eyebrows. So we need to get it feeling. It's hard because those characters, they're like on the cute side. They're not like aggressive design. They don't have a lot of sharp lines, because that also comes from character design. If you see like villains and those more strong characters, they have sharp design, sharp lines. And then these characters, they have like very round lines. You can still extract the expression, of course, but it's a little bit more of, you have to really push for the expression. Cool. Now let's go over to the next frame. I'm gonna select on everything, and let's start. We have like a base of the expression. We're like, oh yeah, I can see this. You can see this expression. Cool. I can start moving forward and try to detail more this expression. And I'm gonna start trying it out. Do we want the mouth open? It's interesting. The teeth is something that I'm so picky with teeth. Anytime I'm like supervising or doing notes for students, I first talk about the teeth, and then I'm like, okay, now let's go over the acting, because I'm like very, very picky about the teeth. I can't stand, whenever I'm watching a movie that I see the teeth, I was just like, oh my god, it's killing me. And no one cares, but it's just personal. That's my main tone control. And that's what I think in 2D is amazing. When I watch like 2D films or 2D tests, how they shape the mouth and eyes, because everything is like drew, so you don't get those free 3D things where you just move the mouth and then the teeth has a lot of like shapes that you wouldn't even be able to draw if you're drawing. So that's why I appreciate a lot of 2D and 2D animators there. one thing that I also like this, like one rule of thumb that I have, I don't like having the lower teeth connecting silhouette with the upper teeth. So I always like leaving a gap. And half of the times this is interesting, half of the times the lighting is not gonna be bright enough there. It's just gonna be shadow anyway. But for me, I just can't. I just like, okay, let's fix this here. Cool. Now getting the eye. You know what? The eyes, I think the lower lid, we should force it out more to really get the lower lid open, but the muscle on top kind of overlapping, like the cheeks are overlapping on top here. And I still want to push more of this in here. And because I don't like leaving the tip like this, I'm gonna deform a little bit. Yeah, the rigger was surprised of how much controllers I asked on the teeth. Because it was very, if you guys are familiar with like those rigs that we have online, it's the same rigger who did Leo and the other, like I think Lupin House rigs, some of them. So his rig system is very good, and he's very useful. That a lot of students are used to the same system. This one has just like a few little things that are different because of like requests that I made. But overall, it's not a rig that I got from DreamWorks, for example. DreamWorks rigs will be a little bit better than this, but you can probably extract the same amount of acting with both of them.
For controls that, you know, for rigs that don't have these specific teeth controls, do you just kind of work with what you have, or you?
Yeah, I get the main one and start rotating and translating and scaling, and sometimes I change a little bit the mouth pose.
Okay.
Because
Just to complement it.
Yeah.
Because I know most rigs don't really have that level of detail, at least with the teeth. So.
Yes, yeah, I know. But if you get to like a feature film, then you're gonna get this level of control. When I was even like at Sony, I was years ago at Sony, and we had this level of control. And I believe even like it doesn't even have to be like the AAA feature film studios. You can get like on other film, and if you can ask for it, sometimes people don't have it because they don't ask for it. Cool. I think we're getting somewhere more interesting than before. You see how the mouth is like very exaggerated, and I still have like few things. I'm gonna start zooming in. I don't care much about this kind of issue. I usually fix later on if it shows in lighting. I fix it up with like a specific blend shape for the pose. But here, feel like this could be a little bit more up. And now I think it's about time to go to the next frame and try to push it a little bit more. Or change it up a little bit more. It's not always about pushing, exaggerating, but also about like making some tests, experimenting on your pose. And then just pushing everything further. I like exaggerating as far as it can go, because toning it down is easier if you have like, if you get a note, toning it down is always easier than exaggerating. If you get a note like, oh, tone down the expression, you're like, okay, cool. You can just pull the corners in, near here. If they say like, okay, exaggerate the expression, so many things connected that it's always harder for me. But that's also personal. Some people like being a little more conservative. Let's get into just the eyebrows here. I also have like a lot of eyebrow controls to really shape it. Here. Trying to get the eyebrow. Let's try to put even more tension on this eyebrow. With the eyebrow control. this one. This one. Too many controls. Here. Actually, not that much. Let's go the other side a little higher. Getting this. I'm gonna zoom in. Trying to get this to match a little bit more here. Oh, we're going over time here. I'm sorry about that. Almost there. I was expecting we would go over time. It's a little ambitious to make poses and still explain before. Cool. Probably I'll have this ear outside of the city lights. No, I don't wanna. Don't be afraid also to like translate controllers around. Really try to draw your pose how you want. And then if it's too broken, then you tone it down, but try to get it where you need first. Not like the where it was. And I also like doing this. Sometimes I zero out, like, okay, I'm gonna restart this. And then, now, fun fact that is, I haven't animated this character yet. So I'm still experimenting. I just did like one pose testing the rig. And I'm about to do this. I think this is pretty cool already. I think we got to the rage expression. Set a key. And you see like how we started. And a lot of people, they start like this and then they go to the next pose and they go to the next pose. And then you start getting like confused, like, oh, what do I need to fix? Where do I need to fix? And if you actually go over and do those tests, and we have still one extra pass where we're gonna push a little bit of the line of action, asymmetry. I wanna compress a little bit more the space with those squash controls. Maybe put a little bit here to the sides. And a little of model. We have a limit for everything. It's like house of model is just knowing the character and knowing your character's limits. And if you see like, okay, it's not looking too much like the character, it's off model. But that gets with like knowing the character and reference and experimenting. And now we can get to actually, I think this is gonna give a good difference. That is getting him actually angry. And we can tone it down a little bit, the artist size. And you see, like I left this to the end because I don't want this to trick my brain, like, oh, it's looking cool enough. I always leave the things that are obvious, like, yeah, this little detail will definitely sell it. I leave it to the end because this got, and I would probably continue here and making another version where the eyes are squint instead of open. So I would probably keep going here and like try it out, a few more things. Let's put a texture. And seeing with the texture, maybe I would fix a few shapes here and there, like maybe this eyebrow could go up a little bit more. Actually, this comes over here. But that is pretty much the expression. And if we go back to how we started, he was feeling more like in pain than hurt. So you always need to like, yeah, like do something like, okay, analyze it. Is this like really feeling it? Go back to your reference, like, doesn't feel like this. And then try to detect like, okay, the mouth, you see like how this round shape actually corner shape was better. Jaw a little bit more open, eyes more open. Actually, jaw was too open and a little more closed. And then the eyes more open and the eyebrows more open. And then probably push a little bit the line of action more this way. And now we really have it, the expression. So that's like pretty much my workflow and how I approach, like whenever I get an expression and whenever I get a rig that I'm familiar, that was Miara, and a rig that I'm not so familiar, but I understand the style and I go reference, and you see how we can extract an appealing pose here. Now we can go back to the presentation. I have just a few last thoughts, and I'll let you guys go to the next interesting one. Yeah. So final tips. Always try to find, like whenever you get your pose, I like doing this exercise myself. Try to find like those imaginary lines where you see how, for example, here we have the flow of the hair. So how the hair is flowing here together with this hair that is connecting with the braids. So all those lines are like getting together, and how the expression is opening this way, how the shoulder is dropping one side and open the other side for the head, and the line of action of the face with the line of action of the body. But you see, like, it's not just one line of action here, it's actually one line of action and another line of action. So it makes it more interesting. And here, for example, on a surprise pose, surprise is a little bit more symmetrical. So you see how the pose is more symmetrical, how the mouth is dropping, the ears are dropping, the flow of the eyebrows, where they are very like neutral and simple, but they're still like asymmetrical. And the shoulder is dropping, the ear, like everything feels like those lines. Everything is like flowing on those lines. And this smile here, same thing. Flow of the ears and how the ear, like I made this on purpose for the ear to go here and then here, and then the face is open, and the eyebrows, how they're like tense, and we have the wrinkles, and we have the wrinkles also here on this, on the smile, and this final pose here. Same thing of how the eyebrow is connected and how the whole face, and especially the eyes, I really like paying attention on the eye mask and how the eyes are connected. And that's it. Just in time. No, close and not save the file.